morning, everyone. Here we are, Don Lemon alongside Poppy Harlow and Caitlin Collins. It is November 1st, and welcome to our very first show. We're so happy that you're waking up with us.
We made it through an hour.
We
made
did.
it through the first hour, and this is the start of the rest of our lives.
And so, how do you feel?
Good. It was a really good first hour. It's not as bad getting up this early as you think it is. Once you get through those first few minutes.
It's day one.
Yeah, check in with me in like 6 months from now. We'll see how
it is day one. You doing okay?
I'm great.
I'm so happy to be with you guys. I mean, this is going to be fun.
We never thought none of us ever thought that we'd ever get to actually sit together and do this together 3 hours a day. So
yeah. And what did happen? Like a week ago? And here we are. Listen, again, you're going to learn a lot more about us. We're going to take you all over the country, from Minnesota to Louisiana to Alabama.
Maybe to a football game this
Maybe
weekend.
to an LSU-Alabama football game. So stay tuned. The big questions this morning, though, and it's a serious one. Serious ones, I should say. Are lawmakers safe in America? The urgent new concerns after the plot targeting the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
Also, second, is Russia's invasion of Ukraine about to change dramatically? This is as Iran escalates its involvement. Our Clarissa Ward is on the ground with her reporting live from Ukraine ahead this hour.
And third, why is Republican Liz Cheney hitting the campaign trail for a vulnerable Democrat today? We are going to talk to that Democratic lawmaker live.
And finally, what is NASA up to, right? SpaceX. What are they up to today? You're looking at live pictures now of the world's largest rocket. It's a little foggy there. You can barely make it out, but there it is. That rocket is set to launch for a secret classified mission. But first this morning, disturbing new details into that violent attack. Chief Law Enforcement and Intelligence Analyst John Miller. John, good morning to you. Thank you for joining. So listen, prosecutors here really laying out a timeline here and giving details, reading into that. What are you seeing here?
I think we learned three important things yesterday. Number one, the suspect was not there just to hit Paul Pelosi with a hammer.
All right, speaking of violence, there was a bloody Halloween night on Chicago's West Side where a drive-by shooting ended with at least 13 people shot. Among the victims were children, ages 3, 11, and 13. Yeah.
All right, it is 1 week exactly until Election Day. Some big names are hitting the trail today. President Biden will rally in Florida. Former President Obama will be in Nevada. Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney will campaign with a Democrat running for re-election, that is Alyssa Slotkin in Michigan, and the former Vice President Mike Pence will rally with Governor Brian Kemp in Georgia.
That he will go after DeSantis hard on the issue of abortion rights. He said that is going to be very, very helpful for me in my race because it is a #1 issue. Ron DeSantis, this goes to show, is sort of a poster child for Democrats when it comes to sort of trying to paint Republicans as having extremist policies. Now, you talk to any Biden advisor and they will say, look, we are focused on the midterms. We are not thinking yet about 2024 in a serious way. But yes, there is a universe where in 2024, there is a Biden versus DeSantis race. So we could also get just a little bit of a preview of what Democrats, what President Biden, what they see as some of his biggest political vulnerabilities today.
Being a big issue, but obviously what we've seen Republicans pushing is this economic-driven message. And President Biden yesterday had this abruptly scheduled remarks where he went after oil companies talking about the profits they're making. This is what he told reporters.
Oil companies' record profits today are not because they're doing something new or innovative. Their profits are a windfall of war. You know, at a time of war, any company receiving historic windfall profits like this has a responsibility to act beyond their narrow self-interest of its executives and shareholders.
Now, MJ, he's issuing these warnings to these companies. Of course, he's going to need the consent of Congress to get a lot of this done. But what is the driving factor behind this messaging from President Biden? Thank you for joining us from the White House.
Thank you, MJ. So you brought up those numbers. Let's look at these numbers. Okay, so BP, big oil company, just in this morning was stronger than expected. Record, not record, but really big numbers for BP overnight in the quarter, raking in $8.2 billion. Other big oil companies, strong, even some record-breaking profits here. Look at ExxonMobil, $18.7 billion in the quarter. Chevron, $10.8 billion. Shell, $9.5 billion. I spoke, guys, just a few weeks ago to the CEO of Chevron, Mike Wirth, and I asked him exactly about this criticism from the Biden administration, because remember, he wrote that open letter to Biden and he really vocally went after the administration for some of the things they're saying about big oil. Yeah. Here's what he said about exactly what the president proposed yesterday. Here that was. Let me read you from Senator Ron Wyden, who chairs the Senate Finance Committee. Quote, big oil companies are raking in record profits, rewarding their CEOs and wealthy shareholders with massive stock buybacks and using special loopholes in tax codes to pay next to nothing in taxes. I want to give you a chance to respond to that.
Windfall profits taxes have been tried before in this country. They didn't achieve the goal that was desired. It is pretty basic that if you want more of something, you tend not to tax it. If you want less of something, you put taxes on it.
That would make
less
you
smoking,
produce less, you're saying.
If you tax our industry, it does not incentivize investment. If you increase taxes on our industry, that does not incentivize investment. It discourages investment. And it's a simple economic truth. We work around the world, and our capital is mobile. And so a windfall profits tax in one country is likely to move that investment somewhere else.
Remember, guys? Well, I wasn't even born yet. Caitlin definitely wasn't born. But in 1980, they did a windfall profit tax for 8 years. It didn't work.
Yeah. Maybe
different this time. Didn't work. Congress repealed it.
The idea that Congress is going to pass that is really far-fetched, I think.
Yeah, listen, it's a tough argument to sell to the American people, again, when they're struggling and you're making $18 billion in profit.
And a lot of share buybacks, billions in share buybacks, which is not the same as the money going to most.
Here in Texas are issuing statements, very alarmed by what this video that has been captured and has been shared on social media shows, which indeed shows that agents were using those pepper ball guns on migrants.
I think it's also notable, and Rosie, you know this about this better than anyone, that this comes just as the Biden administration has changed its policy, right? We talk a lot about something called Title 42. They've changed just overall their policy as it pertains to those Venezuelan migrants. Can you explain for the viewer why that matters so much here?
Which is where all of this went down.
Rosa, thank you for your continued reporting on the border, to you and your team. Ahead, we're going to take you to Ukraine. Our colleague Clarissa Ward is on the ground with her new reporting on Iran's significant involvement here, helping Russia in this war.
Yeah, it's potentially game-changing. CNN is also on the trail and in the battleground states this morning, where races are tightening with 1 week out before the elections.
And you said Mandela Barnes has turned on America. Why do you think this race is so close?
Well, it's Wisconsin, first of all.
What is your reaction? Well, Ron Johnson's been a hypocrite his entire career.
There is new CNN reporting this morning on a major escalation in Russia's war on Ukraine, an escalation that could change the course of this conflict. CNN is learning that Iran is preparing to send 1,000 new weapons to Moscow, a move that is getting the West's attention. The shipment includes ballistic missiles and more attack drones. Our chief international correspondent is Clarissa Ward, and she is live in Ukraine for us. Clarissa, good morning to you. This will and probably will change the trajectory of this war.
Well, certainly.
Thank you. You can see, I mean, look where Clarissa is right now. It is just decimated. Much of Ukraine looks exactly like where Clarissa is. Clarissa, again, our thanks to you. Please be safe.
Thanks, Clarissa.
So Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney is set to stump for a Democrat. That Democrat, Congresswoman Lisa Slotkin. She joins us next.
Also, our Omar Jimenez is standing by in Wisconsin, I should say, far from Washington. But a race he's following could certainly shape the Senate.
For almost 40 years now, I've been voting Republican. I don't know that I have ever voted for a Democrat. As Republicans, there have to be consequences, and we have to make sure that people understand that we're going to vote for those that we can trust and depend on to do the right thing and to uphold their oath.
That was Liz Cheney last month, calling on Republican voters to reject candidates who spread lies about elections. And now, in the final days before the midterms, she is not stumping for the Republican candidate in Michigan's 7th District, Tom Barrett, who said he had, quote, a legitimate concern about how the 2020 election was conducted. Instead, you are going to see Cheney campaigning with his Democratic opponent, Congresswoman Alyssa Slotkin. Congresswoman Slotkin joins us now. Our first question, I think, is did you ask Liz Cheney to come and campaign with you, or did she ask you if she could come and campaign?
And good morning, by the way.
And good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Congrats on your new show.
Thank you.
No, you know, she came up to me on the floor of the House.
Congresswoman Alyssa Slotkin, thank you so much for joining us on our first show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Congresswoman.
All right. This morning in Wisconsin, the Senate race is heating up. Republican Senator Ron Johnson and his Democratic challenger Mandela Barnes now speaking to CNN as issues like abortion and crime keep this race very close. Our colleague Omar Jimenez is on the ground in Milwaukee with more. You had a chance to talk to both of them to ask them the key questions. What did they say?
I did, and you can really feel the stakes of this election. Hard to believe we are a week out.
I just didn't get to go to the Minnesota State Fair this year, and so I really am in
We'll get you
the
some
need
cheese
for a
curds,
fix
Bobby.
of cheese curds.
We'll get you
Omar,
some.
thank
Omar, please
you.
bring her some stuff back.
We've had a
'cause
lot.
She wants it, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Omar. Do not forget, it is 1 week from tonight. CNN special coverage of the midterm elections, and people are engaged. That is what you heard in Omar's reporting. We'll be up all night with you. We hope you'll be up with us, too. All right, so what exactly is being launched into space this morning? There it is, more on this classified Space Force mission, but we can't figure out how classified because we can see it. We'll talk more about that ahead.
Also, there is talk of criminal charges this morning after that post-game ambush that happened at the Michigan and Michigan State football game.
An apology will not get the job done in this instance. There should be serious consequences for the many individuals that are culpable.
Welcome back, everyone, to CNN This Morning. And this morning, the former Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu attempting to make a comeback in the country's unprecedented fifth election in less than 4 years. And when asked about international fears that a future coalition government under him would be, and I quote here, too far right, he told CNN he does not want the, quote, Muslim Brotherhood in government. Hadass Goel, live for us in Jerusalem with more this morning. Hello, Hadass. What did he tell you?
Don, we're outside of a polling station in Jerusalem. You can see the posters here of the different candidates trying to convince people in the last minute to vote for them.
Hadass Goel joining us from Jerusalem. Thank you, Hadass. Appreciate that. Still ahead here on CNN This Morning, a fact check of conspiracies surrounding the brutal attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband.
And CNN is on the Mississippi River as a record drought is bringing the water there to a historic low.
As far as water levels go, this is as worst as you've ever seen?
This is about as low as I've seen it.